of Dr. I always like to call him a genius because I think Friday we get some morning showers, then a cloudy afternoon with a high of 78. And on Saturday, rain showers in the morning, some sun in the afternoon. Again, 78. 56 right now. 55 KRC Talk Station. Chuck Ingram, what is going on out there?
From the UC Health Traffic Center, UC Health is internationally recognized for the treatment of complex stroke and vascular conditions. Learn more at uchealth.com. The problems just keep coming on southbound 75 this morning. The latest is an accident after the Reagan Highway. The left lane is blocked. Traffic backs up through the Lachlan split. Then a broken down above the laterals on the right-hand side. That's before you get to the slow traffic below 74 to the closure where traffic is being diverted off of the highway to Ezra Charles. Northbound 75, they cleared the wreck at Buttermilk. Chuck Ingram on 55 KRC, the talk station.
829 55 KRC Talk Station. Apologies. No comedic comments or off-color remarks from Chuck Ingram this morning. It is a very heavy traffic morning here. Normally we get something to joke and make fun of Chuck about with Judge Anna Napolitano every morning at 8:30 or every Wednesday morning at 8:30 here on the 55 KRC Morning Show. 55KRC.com. Stream the audio and get the podcast of this conversation and also score yourself a copy of that wonderful book we just talked about, Fierce Valor. Judge Napolitano, welcome back. I'll tell you right now, I really was happy to read the subject matter of your column, which comes out tonight. I get it early, as I like to point out, the feds and their copycats. This software, and you and I have talked about this before, is scary stuff. Scary stuff. Welcome back, Your Honor.
Oh, thank you, Brian, even if I am chopped liver over at the traffic department.
He's got a job to do.
I respect his job. You and I have talked about this zero-click software. Zero-click is an Israeli-created software that permits the user to download the content of the target's computer, mobile or desktop, without tricking the target into clicking onto a link. So if it's a mobile device, the user of zero-click can follow the target electronically wherever the mobile device goes, can listen to phone calls used on it, can listen to in-person communications that are in reasonable proximity of it, can download the contents of everything that's in there, can capture all the keystrokes on the texts and the emails that are sent to and received by the device. The FBI bought this in the Trump years without telling Trump, without telling the Attorney General. A young clerk in the FBI inadvertently acknowledged this in a Freedom of Information Act request. Congress objected to it. Joe Biden said he signed an executive order banning it. Well, what he banned is just one version of zero-click called Pegasus. He did not ban all zero-click. Another version called Predator, interesting name, is what the FBI now uses. Why is this now in the news if they've been using this since 2020? Because Apple just informed the White House, and the White House released this, that 50 American government employees, we don't know if they're civilian or military, working in 10 foreign countries, had the contents of their mobile devices downloaded by some foreign power using zero-click. And now the White House is worried and upset. Why? Because the president was recently in Ireland, where his mobile device, I don't know if he carries it, if Mrs. Biden carries it, if his body man carries it, if the Secret Service carries it, but we know he uses one. We've seen him using it. Could very well have been downloaded by somebody using this dangerous software. The feds use this dangerous software on all of us now, and big tech has begun to mimic the feds by snooping on phone calls and then sending you ads in your email, on your website about the subject matter of your phone call. This is the Orwellian land that we live in today.
You know, that's interesting that you brought that latter point up. You know, of course, private businesses, if you are, using their product or their service, they might even have an open disclosure when you click on I accept, because it's a contract of adhesion, you're going to have to accept it to use their product. It might be in there that we have the right and freedom to use or access to anything that's on your device. You're using our particular service. That's a private company, that's a private business that needn't honor the Fourth Amendment right to be free of unreasonable searches and seizures. The government, as you and I both know, is a completely different animal. They need a warrant to listen to this. And after this Durham report and the lies that all that multiple year crap was built on, and we come to find out there's disparate treatment depending on which political party. I've got no respect for these so-called law enforcement agencies if they are ignoring and trampling on our Constitution. They just look at it as an afterthought.
You and I have discussed this before, Brian, since 9/11. Since the Patriot Act, since the expansion of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Now that's 21 years ago. A full generation of federal agents, FBI, CIA, NSA, BATF, have come of age in the culture that all they have to do is get the evidence and let prosecutors worry about whether or not it was acquired legally. They just don't care about the Fourth Amendment. Which is easier, to use zero-click or to develop probable cause of crime, sit down with a prosecutor, fill out an affidavit, wait for the prosecutor to present it to a federal judge, and wait for the federal judge to sign the search warrant? It's not even a close call. Which is easier for big tech to listen to two people talking about buying earrings and then suddenly start sending them ads for earrings, or to pay for ads for earrings on the internet? One is far more effective. Both violate privacy. One may involve computer hacking, or we may have consented to it, as you pointed out. The other, when the feds do this, is absolutely, totally, irrevocably unconstitutional. Even if Joe Biden didn't read, I have to say this with a straight face, even if he didn't read his own executive order, even if he thought he was banning all zero-click, and he wasn't, he should ban all warrantless surveillance, period, because all of it is prohibited by the Fourth Amendment. But the government just doesn't care. It takes the view that if we spy on you to keep the country safe, as opposed to spying on you to help convict you of a crime, the former spying is okay. And by the way, if we discover evidence of a crime, we were there anyway, so we're going to find a way to justify it before a federal judge. This is just not the Bill of Rights that Madison wrote, the Constitution he drafted. This is not the country the framers gave us, but this is what we're stuck with right now. Well, and my 2 cents on Durham is it's hogwash. Why didn't he go after the CIA? Why didn't he go after the people that spied on Trump before he was president? Why didn't he indict anybody for violating Trump's civil rights by commencing criminal investigations based on politics? He indicted 2 people for lying to the FBI. Big deal, lying to the FBI. They can lie to us, and the jury didn't buy either of his cases. Durham is a joke.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the one thing I get from my listeners all the time, a lot of people just conclude, well, there's never going to be any accountability. Never. I mean, this obviously they made up something about Trump. You going back to your idea about probable cause. Well, apparently in the Department of Justice or in the FBI, all you need to do is have some political person say, hey, did you know so-and-so is colluding with the Russians? And without following up on that, just launch an investigation based upon some random comment from some politically motivated person. But however it happened, it was wrong, let's assume. How are they going to be, or will they be held accountable? Under what statute, under what law, under what process can we say, okay, heads have finally rolled, and that's going to be a warning to anybody who might do this down the road?
Let me remind everybody listening to us, and you, because you're a lawyer, know this, and I'm going to make this statement twice. The FBI is nothing without the DOJ. The FBI is nothing without the DOJ. Every FBI agent works for a federal prosecutor. Every federal prosecutor works directly or indirectly for the DOJ. Without a prosecutor, without a assistant U.S. attorney, no arrest warrants, no search warrants, no subpoenas. So the DOJ is as culpable in this as the FBI is. When did this happen? Who was running the DOJ? Bill Barr, the same guy that appointed John Durham, was running the DOJ and indirectly the FBI at the same time this nonsense was happening. Chris Wray, still there. James Comey, untouched. Like I said, Durham is more cover up than he is exposure and vindication.
Well, I'd like to think that Durham report might serve as at least an impetus for the populace, when we're considering who we're electing, for us to sort of at least express some form of revolt and indignation over the abuse that, well, Trump went through, that I know half of America doesn't care he went through, but there, but for the grace of God, go you or I. I mean, we joke
Right.
about it all the time, Your Honor. You've been subject to surveillance. I expect I have too, just by virtue of me having a friend in France or any other mechanism they can get, or because I'm 2 degrees of separation away from you and you've got people, and we all know how that ends up. No recourse for you or I.
Next week, I'll be lecturing at the University of Zurich Law School in Zurich, Switzerland. For every phone call I've had with my friends in Zurich setting this up is another opportunity for the FBI and the CIA and the NSA legally to listen to my phone calls, capture my emails and my texts without a warrant until Section 702 of the FISA Act, another monstrosity from the post 9/11 Bush years, expires.
That's a very Orwellian reality. You really find yourself in. We like to use that term loosely. It's Orwellian. You're living that reality because of your interactions with international context. Before we part company, I'm troubled by this Apple warning to the administration that, hey, you too have been or are targets of this Pegasus-like zero-click software. I mean, doesn't this scream for some sort of reform in terms of how our elected officials and how those keepers of confidential information or secretive information that's for our benefit, how they keep and store it? If you can just
Well,
stand
you're
next to
right.
somebody and download it, then you got to stop doing it that way.
So the zero click is so nearly perfect a spy tool that the victim doesn't even know it's downloaded. I mean, they don't remove the data from your iPhone. They just
copy it.
copy the data from your iPhone. So these 50 federal employees, for all we know, one of them was Joe Biden. We don't know. These 50 federal employees legally, legitimately working for the US government in 10 foreign countries did not know that the contents of their iPhones, which could have had all kinds of top secret material in there, as you point out, had been downloaded until Apple told them. And Apple warned more is likely to come. It's terrifying. What you worry about the secrets that supposedly Jack Teixeira released? That's peanuts compared to what our adversaries already have in their hands.
Well, one could maybe conclude that that is largely responsible or explains some of the actions of our former friends abroad and our enemies abroad, and the boldness and the steps that they have taken during this administration and in prior ones. They know what the landscape is. They maybe know the playbook ahead of time. They know where, the appropriate skeletons are stored or hidden. And national security, that's a real problem.
My ex-CIA guys that come on my show, one of them will today, Tony Schaefer, who's an iconoclast like you and I are, who believe that our involvement in Ukraine is insane and extending a war. The other, Jack Devine, career CIA, defends the CIA and defends the American administration. They both tell me that the data that Jack Teixeira is accused of downloading, the Russians already had it before he downloaded it. Huh? Who do we keep secrets from?
Apparently no one these days. Wow. Your Honor, always a pleasure. Judging Freedom, search for it. Find them online, judgenap.com, every Wednesday here on 55KRCD Talk Station, podcast, 55KRCD.com. Love our conversations, even though sometimes they literally scare the hell out of me.
Same here, Brian. God love you. And then tell Ingram I still love him.
I will. We'll make up for it next week. We'll have him say something just beyond the pale bizarre, and then that'll
be second nature for him.
It will be. Take care, Your Honor. We'll talk next
Have
Wednesday.
a good one, Brian.
You too. 8:42 coming up at 8:43. 55KRC, the talk station.